What's up, everybody? This is Justin Bozeman. I'm here just real quick for a quick video. I like to come up here now, probably, I want to say probably once every uh, 2 days or so, to kind of trick the algorithm into not shadow banning me. So I wanted to real quick just make a video about something that I saw the other day. And it's kind of a sad thing to say or to see, but I think it's something that really we should be on the lookout for, because I think that it's something that you'll see a lot of in the future moving forward. And what I'm talking about is, if you don't know, there's a very famous tennis player who goes by the name of Naomi Osaka. And I believe she's been ranked number one in the world, I believe, at some point. She's won some majors, she's won some championships, she's had success. I believe she's very young. I think she's about 21, 22 years old, very young. Uh, Not even in the prime of her career nor of her life or anything, but she's already enjoyed great success. She's beat, you know, I think both Williams sisters, who I said she grew up, just idolizing, and she's been very successful in her career. She's made millions of dollars. I mean, very successful. She recently went through some episodes, and I think she might be, I think she's mixed. I think her father is black, and I think her mom is Japanese or Korean. I'm not sure which one, but I believe she's Japanese, because I think the name Osaka sounds like a Japanese name to me. But um, what's interesting about her is she recently went through something where she had a mental breakdown and she had to take some time off from the sport, which, I mean, everybody suffers through things and goes through things. Okay. And, sometimes we need to take some time to get things together and to get to the right space, not begrudging her for that, nothing wrong with that. But when she comes back from her layover, what's interesting to me is she has an incident when she's playing in a tournament. And I guess she was playing in a tournament and she is in a match, and she begins to kind of get frustrated in this match. And I guess at the end of the match, when she loses and loses badly, I guess she starts crying and talking about how, there were people saying mean things even as far back as, I don't know, 20 years ago to Serena and Venus, and how, somebody was being mean. And there was basically, I guess there was one person who basically was jeering her and saying that she sucked and all that. And what's interesting to me is this. I understand that she might have an issue, or might have had an issue where she needed to take some time off and get her head into a good mental space. But I think it's reaching the point now where a lot of it is self-inflicted. And this is a byproduct, I think, of what I would call, and it probably isn't even a word, but I'm making it up like I'm Jesse Jackson. It's what I would call millennialism. Millennialism is, I believe, the belief from a group of millennials, the people who, were born at the turn of the century, and they have this mindset that the world should revolve around them, and the world should cater to what it is that they want and they feel, and that it's not them who have to adjust to the world, but it's the world that should have to adjust to them. This is why you see so many different things going on and taking place. This is why you see the swimmer who's who I guess is transgender, winning the women's championships, and nobody wants to say, hey, listen, you can't compete. You were born a man. You have an unfair advantage, because nobody wants to call things what they are. Nobody wants to tell somebody no. Nobody wants to tell somebody the world doesn't revolve around you. But she goes and she takes the mic. Naomi Osaka goes and takes the mic and talks about how somebody was cheering her, and and all this. And my thing is I think that it just shows. it just shows a mental weakness that is beyond what I would say, what people will call, quote unquote, mental health. Because I think a lot of the mental health issues that people are suffering today from, and this is why I talked about millennialism, I think there's this thing that goes on in people's minds. And I brought up the transgender swimmer, I brought up Naomi Osaka, where they believe that the world, everybody who's in the world has to accept them. I think they think everybody who's in the world has to accept me. Everybody who's in the world has to like me. Everybody who's in the world has to, I don't want to say bow down, but everybody who's in the world, you can't say anything negative to me. You can't make me feel a certain type of way. And what's funny to me is Naomi Osaka, I mentioned all of her accolades. She's won major tennis championships and like against former champions, and she's one of the top level tennis players. She's upset that there is a grown man who paid for a ticket to sit in the stands to jeer her. So she's upset that that man said, "You suck." Meanwhile, she's not thinking like, you know what? I make millions and millions of dollars off of grown men just like this who are telling me that I suck, but yet they're paying money to watch me play tennis. He's paying money to watch me. He's putting money in my pocket. He's saying that I suck. Meanwhile, I'm the one who's down here playing at a championship level in front of millions of people and getting paid for it while he's sitting in the stands. See, she didn't think like that. Instead, in her mind, it was like one person not validating her out of the 10,000 people who were there. And I think even the guy who was the public address announcer there was like, 999,000 people, or 9,999 people here love you. Don't worry about the one, like. But to me, it's a mindset, and it tells me something. It tells me something very troubling. And this is why she's a victim of millennialism. Millennialism tells people that they need to be accepted by everybody. And the way that they go out to get or to gauge that acceptance a lot of times is they try to get external validation. External validation, yes, meaning the validation doesn't come from a source in which it causes them to be able to create within themselves a security so that when something external says something that is against what they've been brought up being told or believing their whole life, they can say, well, what this person says, that's a lie. See, if she was internally validated and affirmed and had that affirmation, it wouldn't matter what anybody in the stands would be able to say. See, this is what separates mentally strong people from mentally weak people. See, there's a reason why, and I hate to bring this guy up, but I mean, I have to give him credit for what he is able to do. Tom Brady. There's a reason why Tom Brady can go into an opposing stadium full of fans that hate him and call him names and say all types of stuff probably about him, his wife, him cheating, all this other stuff. And he's able to push all that to the side and to be able to play at a high level because he's internally validated. When you're not internally validated because of what you receive from either a parent or from God, you seek to get external validation. And millennialism teaches people how to get external validation through sources that could never actually fully fulfill or validate them. This is why you see the rise of the Instagram model. This is why all the girls now, if they know that they're even a little bit cute, what do? They want to run and jump on Instagram. Take off their clothes, jump on Instagram. Try to get the likes. Try to get the thumbs up on their pictures. And try to get the followers. They gauge themselves on the amount of followers who join every day. Social media is an external external validator that people use to substitute for something that was supposed to be given to them in the beginning by their parents and by God. And it leads to not being enough, even when you're what the world would call successful. Even when you've reached the top, the pinnacle of your profession or your sport, you don't have the ability to be able to enjoy it because you can't receive affirmation now because you're looking for external validation. This is what millennialism has really brought to the forefront. This is why you can't tell men who want to be women that they're really men and they can't be women, even if they think of themselves as one. This is why you can't tell them that, because you have to go along with it. Now, listen, it's one thing to let people do what they do. It's another thing to go along with it. And the thing is that's very interesting. And this is something that this is why it's so prevalent now in this generation, especially with the LGBT. It's not enough to just have them be for people to let people do stuff. They now need to be validated by people, meaning that there is a hole somewhere in their heart, in their soul, that they didn't get validated by somebody. Let me express this, and I'm done. This is a short video. Like I said, these are nice, I call them Uncle Tom shorts, that I can get out and just keep the numbers and keep the algorithm going so that people don't think that I'm leaving. But true fulfillment really can only come from God. True affirmation really only comes from God, and it really only comes from your parents. It really only comes from knowing your purpose and knowing who you are. When you know who you are internally, no amount of external negativity is able to throw you off of your purpose and off of what it is that you are supposed to do. Does that make any sense to anybody? I mean, I don't get up here to be preachy or anything like that. I don't get up here to make people feel a certain type of way or anything like that. But I saw this story, and I saw her crying and talking about one person who said this and how people say stuff that's mean and all that. But my message to Naomi Osaka would be, it don't matter what that dude says. That dude's paying money to watch you play tennis. You make probably 20 times, 30 times more money than he'll ever make. You're more successful in your field than that man will probably ever be in his field. But you let somebody who really, in the grand scheme of things of your life, doesn't even matter, get you to a point to where he can control you, because you don't know where you get your validation and affirmation at. And the thing is, with her, she's tried to get her validation from her race, from being mixed, from her father being black, and joining a struggle and doing all these different things. And that didn't work, because guess what? That can't really validate you or affirm you, because you can never be affirmed in the flesh. I'm going to say that again. You can never be affirmed in the flesh. You have to be affirmed by your spirit. You have to be affirmed by God. You have to be affirmed by your creator. And if you're not, there's always going to be a gaping hole in your soul, and you're always going to be looking for something on the internet. Let me see who said something about me on Twitter. Let me see who put this mean thing up on me on Facebook. And they're controlled by it. I believe that's the reason why it was possible to tell millions and millions of people that we should allow the country to be taken over by communists and everything else that is ungodly. And just as long as we get rid of a guy who makes us feel bad because we think he tweets mean things. This is why people are so messed up today. So I'm hoping that you hear what I'm saying, and I'm hoping that if you're a millennial, that you get to the point of where you stop looking for validation inside of Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and looking at your numbers and who's following and who's doing this and who's doing that. I would strongly suggest that you get a internal affirmation that can only come from God your Father, from your Creator, through a relationship with Jesus Christ the Son. So that's my time. This is Justin Bozeman doing another Uncle Tom short. Until next time, everybody.